Good day, class. Let's begin our syllabus review for General Psychology, Psych 210, Section 4. Location information. I am located in the Lions Science Building, 232A. My office hours are Monday and Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m. virtual. There will be a link on your Canvas site for the virtual office visit. Also, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I hold office hours between 2 and 4 p.m. You see my office number is 672-2611, and my email address is located there as well. We meet at 12:30 to 1:45 on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the Nursing Education Center, 230. Important information in the syllabus. You've probably seen all this information before, but I want to go over some key items that are particularly of great importance. If you have a disability or think you have a disability, please contact the Center for Personal Development in the Spalding Building, room 155 on the first floor. Phone number 910-672-1203. Also, Fayetteville State University is committed to fostering a safe campus environment where the students are able to learn at their leisure. So, if there are any issues dealing with misconduct, particularly sexual misconduct, the sexual misconduct can be dealt with by the Title IX coordinator. The information is located in your syllabus with contact information, so you can reach out if you're having any issues. The course description. This course is an introduction to the study of psychology as a science and the application of the scientific method and the understanding of behavior, with emphasis on such behavioral phenomena as learning, motivation, emotions, memory, and problem solving, personality and development, behavior disorders, and psychotherapy. The required textbook by Myers and DeWall 2022 is Exploring Psychology, now in its 12th edition. Students are expected to own or have access to a copy of the required textbook and are required to read all assigned readings by the dates identified on the course schedule. Additional readings and activities required for the course will be made available on Canvas. Now for the student learning outcomes. Once you've completed the course, you should be able to accomplish these. 1. Identify the major psychological principles, subfields of psychology, and approaches to understanding human behavior. Recognize and explain the basic scientific methods used in psychology. Summarize how individuals are influenced by culture and the presence of others. Recognize Basic American Psychological Association Publication Manual formatting guidelines and their rationale. Demonstrate writing skills related to the identification, discussion, and analysis of theory and scientific findings in psychology. Identify the causes of maladaptive behavior and the therapeutic approaches to changing behavior. Explain the differences between the low road of consciousness and the high road of consciousness. Demonstrate an understanding of how development and its relationship to psychological functioning. Identify and or discuss issues related to basic human brain, neurological, and sensory functioning. And finally, summarize the major theories and principles of learning, memory, motivation, and emotion. Now, we also provide hints or suggestions as to what you can do to master these student learning outcomes. Read and take notes on the textbook chapters, supplemental lecture notes, and other supplemental reading material. Also take notes on the videos that are provided. Gather and organize relevant information for utilizing and understanding material. Create summary of key points document to aid in studying for chapter quizzes and module tests. Gather and organize relevant information for the completion of course essay assignments. Complete discussion forums and other Canvas-related assignments. Communicate with fellow students or identify topics via discussion forums. Study for quizzes and tests, and of course, ask questions. The course components. There are 5 unit exams in this course. 1 attempt per unit test. Once started, you must finish. It will account for 30% of your final grade. There are quiz homework assignments as well, where you can save and resume them later, and they will account for 25% of your course's final grade. Then there are formal discussion forums, mandatory core assessment, and participation in other activities and exercises, which will account for another 15% of your grade. The psychology news current event paper and the annotated bibliography will account for another 15% of your grade. And the comprehensive final, unit exam number 6, will account for the last 15% of your final grade, for a total of 100%. Now, a little bit on the MCA, or the mandatory core assessment. General Psychology Mandatory Core Assessment. All students enrolled in Psych 210 General Psychology courses are required to complete this mandatory core assessment. Additional information will be provided during the semester. The core assessment will be made available on Friday, November 18th at 8 a.m. through Saturday, November 26th, 11:59 p.m. There will be no late submissions allowed. Now, a little bit more on the formal discussion forums. In your initial reply, you give complete answer to each question I ask or pose to you. As a general guideline, write approximately 7 to 10 sentences or more to answer the question. You put all the answers to the question in that initial post. Then you look to the students' comments, and you pick at least 2 comments to reply to in a meaningful way to that particular student. You should do this on several different days. I don't want all your responses, your posts, and your replies all in one day. Spread them out over at least 2 days. Now, when you do reply to a fellow student, express yourself and explain your reaction to what another student has said. Again, you don't have to agree with them. You need to be polite and courteous, but you need to make sure that you are thoroughly analyzing what they said. And general guidelines is to write 4 sentences or more in your reply. Now, in participating in the discussion throughout the time it's active, an ideal pattern is one in which you would answer all the questions on the first day or so, and then on several other days, make your 2 replies to other students. There is a rubric in your syllabus that gives you additional guidelines on your formal discussions. Now, another key assignment will be the current event paper. Now, this is a psychology news current event assignment. Psychology in the media, newspapers, radio, TV, internet, or news story. The goal of this assignment is to find current events, research, and other media that relate to the concepts of psychology and to practice applying the concepts or writing about them. These are 3 links that are provided in your Canvas site: psychport.com, psychcentral.com, and New York Times. If you go to one of these sites, most obviously it's going to be reliable information and you can utilize it to write about. The quick rubric down here that you can see provides you the basic guidelines, and there will be a template that you can review, or a sample that you can review to see how it's done. So the topic should be approved by me, or you can use one of the reliable sources like PSYC or Psych Central, and that should be fine. You should have properly formatted cover page followed by the required paper organization in sequence, properly formatted citations and references in the reference section. The paper should be free of spelling and grammatical errors. The paper should flow well and made easy to read. And you should adequately introduce the article in the current event source and successfully summarize the article in the current event source, and then correctly relate this content of the article to the psychological concepts, theories, and principles that we've discussed in the course. Then we have the annotated bibliography. This is an additional assignment. This assignment is designed to help you evaluate information from peer-reviewed sources. Now, let me really give you a quick idea about peer-reviewed versus non-peer-reviewed sources. A non-peer-reviewed source is a source written by a writer who's primarily a writer for a magazine or a newspaper, for example. They interview a couple of people or read some research article, and then they write a story about it, for example. Now, this writing of the story may have some factual information in it. It may be a great writing job, but the idea is that it does not go through the same rigorous work and review that peer-reviewed sources do. So if you have two sources, a peer-reviewed source and a non-peer-reviewed source, and it's about some sort of psychological idea or concept, you should rely a great deal more on the peer-reviewed source on that particular topic and not the newspaper article. So the current event assignment that we just previously talked about is really focused on sort of a non-peer-reviewed source. This assignment, the annotated bibliography, focuses on peer-reviewed sources. So this is how we work. So there's a link here, as you can see with the HTTPS LibGuides link here. It takes you to this search engine. And this search engine, whatever topic is of interest to you that you want to write your annotated bibliography about, you put in the search terms. Then you make sure you click full text and click peer-reviewed scholarly only. Then you click search. Then you'll get a whole list of articles, which are full text articles, as well as peer-reviewed sources about that particular topic that you typed in. You will select 5 of these peer-reviewed articles to review, read and review, and then write summaries about, following the format that I provide to you. Also, there's an annotated bibliography rubric that you should be familiar with as well, so you know how this assignment is going to be graded. So there are additional resources online for the Psychology of the News current event paper. Again, this is a really short paper, just walking you through the steps of finding something, writing about it, and relating it to psychological ideas and concepts. And then the annotated bibliography, which is giving you a little bit more relationship with peer-reviewed sources and seeing how that is done. So more of these resources are available to you on your Canvas site. Now, when you go to Canvas, you should go to modules. That's where everything is basically going to be located. You click on modules, and you can see here on this sample of the page, we see peer-reviewed versus non-peer-reviewed sources and some information on APA there. Then we have the assignment information for current event short paper assignment. And then we have more resources like APA videos, etc. and so forth for the APA academic guide. Then we have more information on the annotated bibliography assignment. So these are just resources for you to help you feel comfortable as you prepare to do these particular assignments. Participation and expectations. Students are required to attend classes by logging on to Canvas regularly and actively participating in all class activities going on in the classroom. Topics for discussion will be posted regularly on the discussion board, and students are expected to contribute to the discussion of these topics. We do this primarily through the formal forums that we just discussed. Students will also be expected to spend at least 6 hours per week engaging in academic activities outside the Canvas classroom, and the classroom in particular. These activities include reading the textbook and posted articles, studying for the quizzes, researching topics for essay and paper assignments, and watching the videos posted on Canvas. All the things that we discussed previously and mastering student learning outcomes. Also, a little bit about academic honesty. Academic honesty is required for the student success. Acts of dishonesty should be avoided, such as acts as including cheating, plagiarism, misrepresentation, fabrication of information, and assisting others in completing such acts during any portion of this course. The consequences of such can be very, very severe. So, for example, it is not appropriate for you to copy the posts of other students and the discussion boards in the forums and then paste them into your discussions. That's not right. Also, when you use the work and ideas of others, you should cite their work, give them credit for what they've provided to you and your communications. Now, looking at your syllabus, on the last couple of pages, we have the schedule. The assignment schedule or the overview schedule is provided to you in your syllabus. A more detailed one is provided on your Canvas site because it includes such things as additional videos, etc. and so forth that you should view to help supplement your understanding of the material. Here at the very top for Tuesday, Thursday classes, we see August 11th, which is the orientation and course introduction. Here we have the introductory formal forum number 1, which is going to be due August 14th. Then we see on August 11th, underneath it, we have Chapter 1, Thinking Critically with Psychological Science. So we'll begin some of our lecture as we finish this material. Some of our lecture on Chapter 1 will begin as well. You can see on the syllabus here, on the schedule, the highlighted items in parentheses are dates. So the Chapter Quiz 1 homework is due August 21. The formal form number 2 is due August 21, and quiz for Appendix A also on the 21st of August. Then we see August 23rd and 25th, focusing on Chapter 2, the Biology of Behavior. Here we see quiz Chapter 2 due on the 28th, as well as the formal form due on the 28th as well. And then we see the exam, Unit number 1 exam, which covers Chapter 1, Appendix A, and Chapter 2 is also due on the 28th. Normally what will happen is, after a class ends on the 25th, approximately 3 days later, the items will be due for that particular work. For example, Chapter 2, so the 28th will be due for Chapter 2, the discussion forum, as well as the exam. So when you go to Canvas, you see here, this is just a sample. Yours is a little bit different now because it has different dates. You click onto modules. You can click onto the link for unit number 1, and then it will take you to this screenshot here or something very similar to it, where you have the week of on the far left column. Then you have the chapter notes and key topics located in the middle. And then to the far right, we have videos which are of relevance to you, as well as the chapter homework assignments and things of that nature. And then at the very end, you'll see the exam will be available as well. And normally there will also be included with the exam a study guide to help prepare you for that particular exam. Now, we'll go over this real quickly here, but this just points out the idea that your learning outcomes are basically being addressed by the various chapters and activities that we perform in the particular course that we're going to be completing this semester. So we identify the major psychological principles, subfields of psychology, and approaches to understanding human behavior. This begins to be addressed in Chapter 1, and all the additional chapters add to our understanding of this as well. Then we look at number 2, recognize and explain the basic scientific methods used in psychology. Chapter 1 introduces these concepts, and all additional chapters and activities add to our understanding of psychological methodology. Then let me skip down to number 5 down here. Demonstrate writing skills related to the identification, discussion, and analysis of theory and scientific findings in psychology. The current event paper and the annotated bibliography assignments allow practice at reading, understanding, and communicating on psychological concepts. And also during the semester, we discover how psychology developed as an academic science. We also learn the various roles psychologists perform, how to critically analyze situations, understand the numerous ways we are influenced and influence other individuals. We learn how psychologists go about answering questions regarding human nature, the role of biology has on how we think and behave, how we use our senses and the role of perception in our day-to-day survival, how our emotions communicate to others, and so on and so forth. So normally there is so much that we cover in general psychology that previously this course used to be taught in 2 semesters with General Psychology 1 and General Psychology 2. We don't have that luxury to do it now this way, but we do what we can to try to tell you the basic information about psychology as an academic discipline in 1 semester. So, questions and answers, what's up next? So, here are some of the things that I want to highlight to you before we begin our lecture. So, look at this few seconds and raise your hand. If you were in class, I would ask you to raise your hand if you know what it is. So, let me put it on the screen. So, the clock ticks by, you're sitting in class or sitting at your monitor, and you are looking at this particular image, trying to figure out what it is to you. What does it mean? Do you see a picture? Well, basically, by now, you probably do see something. Many of you most likely will see an old man, and some of you may see a mouse. So basically, it is either a man or a mouse. So why is this? Well, basically what it comes down to, you are all sensing the same item, the same image, the same dashes and lines and curves and circles, but you're perceiving it differently. Some of you perceive it as a mouse, some of you perceive it as a man. Let me give you an example of how I can manipulate that. In previous semesters, what I would normally do is I would begin a lecture, and then just before I start lecturing on certain topics, I'd hand out a piece of paper to all the students in class. Half the class would get a short story about a nursing home, and half the class would get a short story about pest control. Then I'd take the story up and I'd begin lecture. After I've gone through some lecture, I then would show this image up on the screen, and then I would ask them to tell me what it is that they see. The people who have the short story about nursing homes would see a man. The people who have the short story about pest control would see a mouse. And that way I was able to prime or sort of suggest to them what they would see in the future when I actually showed them this image. I will note here that some people have reported over the years that they see a chicken, and some have reported they see a lizard. I have yet to see such creatures. And finally, there's another activity I normally do during this particular point as well. So now read the next slide. I'll read it for you. But the key point here is the following. According to a research at an English university, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter is in at the right place. The rest could be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because we do not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Now, you should be thinking, well, this really does explain why it is very difficult at times to proofread your own writing. You know what you want to say, and if you are like this, missing not only a few letters in the word, okay, particularly if the ones at the beginning and the end are correct, then you're going to just fill in the blanks. So what these two activities, the one with the old man and the mouse, and this one really points to, is that sometimes when we sense things, we may sense the same thing, but our perceptions, how we make sense of them, may differ entirely. So you may see a movie with your friend, okay, and you thought the movie was a piece of crap, but your friend thought it was the best thing they've ever seen. So you can both sense the same movie, see the same movie, but perceive it differently, and that's what this really points to. So let's begin our discussion of Chapter 1 after we take a short break.